Good morning. Welcome to our Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's Sunday worship service. My name is Charlene Reynolds Santo. I'm a member of the worship arts team, and my pronouns are she and her. Today we gather in an understanding and welcoming environment where we nurture and explore individual spirituality, build a committed and loving community, and help heal our fragile world. If this is your first time with us, I welcome you. If you haven't already, please look at our website for more information about UUCR. Here, you can find details of our church community, sign up for the weekly newsletter, and find the contact information for Melissa Martin, our new member coordinator, who can answer any of your questions. If you're watching this service during its initial broadcast at 9 a.m. on November 28th, please join us after the service for small group conversation via Zoom. This is a great way to keep connected and to check in on others in our church community. The link to this Zoom meeting can be found in the weekly UUCR newsletter. I hope to see you there. Our Share the Plate tradition started 2 years ago as a spiritual practice of giving half of each Sunday's collection to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. It's a simple yet powerful way for each of us to live out our mission to heal the world. Later in our service, we'll have the actual offertory, but I'll take a moment to tell you that our November Share the Plate recipient is the UU Holding India program, UUHIP. UUHIP was created in 1984 through a donation by a lawyer and businessman named Jonathan Holding, who is concerned about India's economic development. Since that time, UUHIP has partnered with more than 70 grassroots service organizations across India, fighting to enforce land rights for indigenous tribes, free bonded laborers, educate child laborers, help poor women take charge of their lives, and demand dignity and equality for Dalits, previously characterized as untouchables. Since the pandemic began, UUHIP partners have been working around the clock. There's a severe shortage of oxygen, medical supplies, and hospital beds. The raging virus has not spared any part of the country. The road to recovery will be long and challenging. The official time to donate is later in the service during offertory music, but you can donate at any time by going to the website and clicking Donate in the red menu bar near the top of the web page. Please give as generously as you are willing and able to our virtual Sunday Share the Plate offertory to support the work of UUHIP and the mission of this church. Thank you for being with us this morning. Please know that we believe you belong here. You belong here maybe just for the next hour, although we hope for longer. You belong here, and we give thanks that you are joining us here today.
Good morning. Our opening words come from the writer Shauna Niequist, author of Cold Tangerines, celebrating the extraordinary nature of everyday life. I want a life that sizzles and pops and makes me laugh out loud. And I don't want to get to the end or to tomorrow even and realize that my life is a collection of meetings and pop cans and errands and receipts and dirty dishes. I want to eat cold tangerines and sing out loud in the car with the windows open and wear pink shoes and stay up all night laughing and paint my walls the exact color of the sky right now. I want to sleep hard on clean white sheets and throw parties and eat ripe tomatoes and read books so good they make me jump up and down. And I want my everyday to make God belly laugh, glad that he gave life to someone who loves the gift. We'll now light our chalice.
Please join us in the chalice lighting words and the children's affirmation. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. We are Unitarian Universalists, church of the open mind, loving hearts, and helping hands.
Somehow, without our fully anticipating it, the holidays have come again. Hanukkah begins tonight at sundown. That festival of lights honors the story of people who survived a great battle and returned to their temple to reconsecrate it. Miracle of miracles, the light that should have lasted one night burned for 8. It was a time of hope and wonder. And so we light this first candle in this beautiful menorah given in memory of Faith Emily Altbush. And today, we also enter into the time of waiting, which we call Advent. We light the first candle, a purple one, to honor this anticipation. The purple prophecy candle is lit in remembrance of the wise ones who foretold the birth of Jesus. In this time, let us be wise. Let us live lives of hope as we look to the stars and the sky, filled with the hope that one day soon the masks will be off and the pandemic ended, and families and friends fully reconnected, without fear, without division. Indeed, this is a time of hope. Our opening hymn greets Advent. People Look East, number 226. I want to express appreciation for our wonderful music makers today, to Molly and Mary and Ron and Trevor. And Trevor, thank you in your opening music for your tribute to Stephen Sondheim. Well, I have a Time for All Ages story for you this morning, and it is about joy. It's called Joy Behind the Door. So this morning, we're doing a little reflecting about joy, and this idea came from a quote by the writer C.S. Lewis, who you'll hear more about during the sermon. He wrote a lot of great books, and one of them is called The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I wonder if you have read that book or seen the movie that was made from the story. It's wonderful. If you're looking for something fun, find it and watch it. Well, you may remember that in the story, Lucy looks for the perfect place to hide, and she opens up the door to a big wardrobe, which is sort of like a freestanding closet. She goes through the door and into the back of the wardrobe, and suddenly she's in a whole other world. It's a magical world with witches and fauns and talking beavers. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a magical world behind every door? When Lucy opened the door to Narnia, it didn't look like anything special. It was just a boring door to a wardrobe full of clothes and coats. But across its threshold, well, there was magic. Lucy already had a foot in Narnia before she quite realized what was happening. Many of the thresholds in our lives are like this. We don't know that we're crossing into another world until we're already halfway there. The door of a church takes us down a pathway of growth we might never have experienced. A restaurant door opens onto a first date and echoes forward into the relationship of a lifetime. A beloved person's door closes behind you and sends you out into the world heartbroken. The door to a library or a gym or a dance studio introduces you to a life's passion that you might not otherwise have discovered. We cross these thresholds every day of our lives, for good and for ill, in joy, in sorrow, in bittersweet truth. Truly, even our own front door is a great threshold, no matter how familiar the worlds within and without may be. Our lives are constantly changing, and every day we can feel like we're opening the same old door again, only to step out into a world that is new since the day before. You never know what's going to be behind the door at the back of the wardrobe, or that other door that you might open, because there really is a new world behind every door, awaiting our discovery. And sometimes we can be surprised by joy when we open that door. It's worth having the adventure, lifted up by the possibility of wonder that may be just on the other side of the wardrobe. And that's the end of my story for today.
At this time of celebrations and separations, we light our candle of community to honor all who are and ever have been part of us, part of this congregation, part of our communities, part of our families. For those near and far, with us in spirit, in body, or in sacred memory, we light this candle with gratitude. Gratitude for knowing that we rest on the shoulders of those who came before, knowing that we are who we are now. Tend the flame while we imagine and hold space for all who will follow. Let us breathe deeply. Find ourselves here in this moment, safely held, as we enter into a time of meditation and prayer.
Friends, as we pause to be lifted by the blessing of music, may we know this as a time of being held in love, in care, in the circle of those who are this church. May the warmth of this community and the memory of our candle flame sustain our hearts and encourage our minds as we engage the blessings of life's challenges and joys. We rest in this love.
The reading from Psalms lifts up gratitude and healing. I will extol you, O Lord, for you have drawn me up and did not let my foes rejoice over me. O Lord, my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. O Lord, you brought up my soul from the place of the dead, restored me to life among those who passed. Sing praises to the Lord, O you, his faithful ones, and give thanks to his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment, his favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may linger for a night, but joy comes with the morning.
A long time ago, there was an advertisement that the Unitarian Universalist Association put out with the goal of attracting more people to our congregations. It was the mid-1980s, and there was a picture of a middle-aged man slumped in an easy chair with a newspaper. Another person, presumably his wife, was standing next to him, curlers in her hair and a bathrobe on, slack-jawed. The text said something like, "You are not alone. Each Sunday, thousands of people decide to spend Sundays reading the newspaper or watching television rather than going to church." It was followed by some other copy about how UUs had a better plan to offer. And of course, you were supposed to jump right up, run to the phone to call whatever the number was, and then get on down to your local UU church that very next Sunday. Well, I don't know about you, but in the last 20 months, it's been one long series of times when I thought that the armchair, the newspaper, and binge watching something like Top Chef or Game of Thrones, which I would happily watch for the third time, seemed pretty good. Sometimes when you are in a rut, it's just so much easier to stay there. And darn it, don't anyone try to nudge you away from that. I bet some of you are on Zoom or Facebook Live right now watching this in your sweats or your jammies, and I get it. I remember the first time I put church clothes on again to help conduct a worship service inside a sanctuary, and I kept thinking, these clothes just don't feel the same as my jeans and my comfy old sweater. Yep, that's what we've been doing for most of 20 months. But I digress. I chose this topic, surprised by joy, not just because it's Advent and that joy candle will be lit soon. And not just because it's the start of the official holiday season and the first night of Hanukkah tonight. And not even because I thought that a church I loved was in the midst of important transitions and it might need a little perspective, although all those things are true. You see, I love so much of what C.S. Lewis created. His stories about Narnia, the ways in which his faith moved him to write magical tales about fantastic creatures and the inquisitive children that were drawn to his world. Lewis spent time exploring the feelings that move us and the ways in which faith, he chose Christianity, can bring us true joy. Lift us to places that startle us sometimes, open our eyes to new possibilities, to wonder. This summer, I had the opportunity to experience such feelings when I performed in the production of Nature, a walking play, produced by the trustees of the reservations in 3 outdoor spaces in Massachusetts. I lead a too busy life, I confess. I also try to make space for things I really care about, even though it may make me busier still. One of them is performing in music or theater that moves me. And this production of nature, which is about the relationship of the transcendentalist thinkers Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, was such an opportunity. My spouse, Ben, and I would drive to our performance in Fruitlands or at Appleton Farms in Ipswich or Bird Park in Walpole, and I would be thinking, why did I sign up for this? I have so much I should be getting done. And then we would gather in a circle with the cast, warm up, and the company manager would lead us in welcoming in the performance that we were about to give. He'd say, I take from the heavens all that I need, and I bring it inside me. I take from the earth all that I need, and I bring it inside me. And when it's inside me, I give it away. These motions would accompany the chant of reaching toward the sky, then nearly kissing the ground, before our arms would be flung open wide to the rest of the circle. And then we would begin the show and bring the magic to our audience. During the scenes where Ben and I and the chorus weren't performing, we had time to watch the show, observe the audience as they watched the actors, and most important for me, watch nature as it just happened. 2 years ago, when I first performed in the show, there was a scene near the end of the play where 3 vultures flew over the coffin on the stage. This year, there was a double rainbow one night near the end of the show. Countless times when geese flew in formation, honking, as Emerson and Thoreau separated in anger from each other, Thoreau gasping for breath as he struggled with consumption that would take him away. There were spiders that made nests in my camp chair. Okay, I hate spiders, and Ben had to get rid of them, but they had moved in to take their space in a comfy setting. Flowers that bloomed in the autumn air after a rainstorm. Chipmunks and squirrels that frolicked in the leaves around us. Huge mushrooms that grew in the damp fall air. These miracles were endless, and they stirred in me such happiness at being outdoors in these spaces that it nearly moved me to tears. I could have missed this so easily. We rush around focusing on the work we have to get done, the latest deadline, and we don't take the time that our spirits need for nurture and restoration. And in accomplishing all the business, we sacrifice the opportunity for not only pleasure, but real joy. Some of you are probably familiar with writer Jon Krakauer's book, Into the Wild. In it, he recounts the story of Chris McCandless, who went deep into the Alaskan wilderness. McCandless, whose life ended tragically, had real clarity about the ways in which we experience the value of nature and the unexpected in our lives. He wrote to a friend, I think you really should make a radical change in your lifestyle and begin to boldly do things which you may previously never have thought of doing or been too hesitant to attempt. So many people live within unhappy circumstances and yet will not take the initiative to change their situation because they are conditioned to a life of security, conformity, and conservatism, all of which may appear to give one peace of mind, But in reality, nothing is more damaging to the adventurous spirit within a man than a secure future. The joy of life comes from our encounters with new experiences, and hence there is no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon, for each day to have a new and different sun. McCandless continued, if you want to get more out of life, you must lose your inclination for monotonous security. Once you become accustomed to such a life, you will see its full meaning and its incredible beauty. And so get out and hit the road. I guarantee you will be very glad you did. I fear that you will ignore my advice. You think that I am stubborn, but you are even more stubborn than me. I fear you will fail to discover all the wonderful things that God has placed around us to discover. Don't settle down and sit in one place. Move around. Be nomadic. Make each day a new horizon. You are still going to live a long time, and it would be a shame if you did not take the opportunity to revolutionize your life and move into the entirely new realm of experience. McCandless concluded his advice to his friend, you are wrong if you think joy emanates only or principally from human relationships. God has placed it all around us. It is in everything and anything we might experience. We just have to have the courage to turn against our habitual lifestyle and engage in unconventional living. My point is that you do not need me or anyone else around to bring this new kind of light into your life. It is simply waiting out there for you to grasp it, and all you have to do is reach for it. The only person you are fighting is yourself and your stubbornness to engage in new circumstances. More than a century earlier than McCandless, Henry David Thoreau, in his essay Walking, observed, in wildness is the preservation of the world. Friends, it is not only in nature, although, as I have shared, there are endless gifts there. It's also in literature, in music, in the creative arts, and in the chance encounters we may discover. Maurice Sendak, in his book Where the Wild Things Are, encourages our fantasies as his character Max declares, let the wild rumpus start. I implore you, give yourself permission, no matter your age, to find the wild rumpus. It will restore your spirit and your imagination, and out of it, well, that is where the possibility of joy begins. Damn, this has been a long time. But friends, we are still here, and our spirits will be brought back to life if we stretch a little. Not by being shut in our homes, but by finding ways to let the wildness in. In a 1945 letter from C.S. Lewis, discovered inside a secondhand book a few years ago, Lewis writes this: real joy jumps under one's ribs and tickles down one's back and makes one forget meals and keeps one delightedly sleepless of nights. Our days are not endless, but they are valuable, and we dare not sacrifice them. This is a time to allow the hidden wonders entry. And to do that, we may need to let go of the routine of the ordinary. The adaptive leadership author William Bridges reminds us that to travel from one experience to another, we must journey through what he calls the neutral zone. It is there that we will find the space to prepare for the next wonder, the future amazing thing that may change our lives. Moses, Bridges reminds us, wandered in the wilderness for years before he reached the promised land. So too do we sometimes need to enter a time of wonder and questioning before we start something new. That too is where surprises can occur, in that space that has opened up where uncertainty and discovery live. It is a time of questions, a time of wonder, a time of waiting. Charles shared with you the passage from the Psalms earlier in the service. We struggle for meaning in our lives and acknowledge that weeping may linger for a night, but joy comes with the morning. So let us venture out now on this first day of Advent, this first night of Hanukkah, this time of waiting. Let us be ready for moments of magic, elements of surprise. It is waiting for us there in the clouds, in the tall grass, in the crisp fall leaves where the tiny mice hide and run. Let us get out to listen and watch. And may those surprises bring you joy. In gratitude for all we have received and all that we may give, we accept this morning's offering.
Our congregational life is the time in our service where we invite you to become more deeply engaged in the life of our church. By now, we hope you have heard that we will be reopening UUCR for a holiday music service on Sunday, December 12th. There will be some guidelines and steps to follow, and all that information will go out to you in an email very soon. This week's church programming includes the return to our regular weekly offerings, including our Monday evening Buddhist meditation group, which meets here on campus and also offered online. Evening Sanctuary returns in December on Wednesdays from 5 to 7. We hope you might visit the sanctuary for candle lighting and reflection. This week, our pastoral care team will lead in a simultaneous guided discussion of ritual from 6 to 7 p.m. that acknowledges the complexity of this season, especially when the holiday hurts. Evening sanctuary hours are open and there is no registration required. There's no RE activity today. RE gatherings and youth group resume next Sunday. Lay leaders are reminded that today is the deadline for submitting your December news submissions for the monthly newsletter that will go out on Thursday, December 2nd. We hope you might join us after the service on Zoom for our Sunday social hour. We are so glad that you have shared this morning with us. Thank you all for being part of our virtual congregational life.
Sing our closing hymn, Rising Green, which is in our teal hymnal 1068. The lyrics, we hope that you will sing with us, you can find in the chat.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. Friends, our closing words come from Fra Giovanni's Christmas prayer, written in 1513. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in it today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future, which is not hidden in the present moment. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach, is joy. Take joy. And so I greet you with the prayer that for you, now and forever, the day breaks and the shadows flee away. So may it be.